Welcome to The Explainer. So today we are looking at one of the absolute most famous stories from the ancient world. You know the one, the story of the golden calf. But listen, we're not just going to do a basic Sunday school recap here. We are going to break this entire event down as a masterclass in human psychology, group dynamics, and honestly, the catastrophic failure of leadership. It's really a story about what happens to the human mind when we're forced into uncomfortable silence. To really understand these ancient Israelites, we actually need to look in the mirror first. Just ask yourself, can you wait in a simple line without immediately checking your phone? Clinical psychologist Jenny Tights has written extensively about this, what she calls our modern impatience epidemic. And her research shows that in a world of instant Google searches and, app-ordered coffee, we've basically lost our ability to wait. To put that into perspective, a 2023 study looking at over 28,000 people found that the average person's mood actually gets steadily worse every single minute they just sit doing nothing. Doing absolutely nothing is genuinely, literally distressing to the human brain. Now take that modern psychological reality we all feel and drop it into the harsh desert wilderness thousands of years ago. 40 days. That is how long the Israelites had to wait at the base of Mount Sinai. 40 entire days of absolute silence while their leader, Moses, was up on the mountain. No text updates, no timeline, and absolutely no visible reassurance that things were going to be okay.
That brings us to Section 1, the danger of delay. Delay is a massive maturity revealer.
Okay, let's dive into this. When answers aren't immediate, who do we actually become? Let's look at the anatomy of this breakdown. Step 1 is simple enough, right? Waiting patiently. But as days stretch into weeks, we inevitably hit Step 2, rising anxiety. The silence creates a vacuum, and human beings will always fill a vacuum with our own fears. That fear then quickly mutates into Step 3, mob pressure, where the panicked people gather against their substitute leader, Aaron. And finally, that pressure erupts into Step 4, idolatry and revelry. They demand a physical, visible solution to just cure their anxiety right then and there. Moving right along to Section 2, beware the mob and its paralyzed logic. You see, mob mentality completely short-circuits logical thinking. Completely driven by anxiety, the Israelites just assumed Moses was dead and demanded an instant fix. And we really shouldn't underestimate how terrifying this mob actually was. According to an ancient Jewish Midrash account, the crowd didn't even go to Aaron first. They went to another leader named Hur. And when Hur bravely refused their demand to make an idol, the mob turned on him and literally killed him. That is the intense, violent danger of groupthink. Once a panicked group latches onto a solution for their anxiety, anyone standing in their way is just branded a traitor. And this brings us to a frankly shocking failure of leadership, specifically regarding the 73 elders of Israel. Just chapters earlier, in Exodus 24, these 73 men were up on the mountain with Moses. The text tells us they saw the God of Israel on a pavement of sapphire, and they ate and drank. They literally had dinner with God. Yet, when the mob is raging at the bottom of the mountain just a few weeks later, they do absolutely nothing. As the quote perfectly puts it, they went from having dinner with God to becoming totally speechless and spineless. The devastating silence of those 73 elders echoes all the way through history. Just consider the rise of Nazi Germany. When Hitler was actively influencing the nation's churches to persecute the Jews, the breakdown of the roughly 18,000 churches looked like this. 3,000 actively sided with Hitler. 3,000 bravely dissented, led by incredible people like Dietrich Bonhoeffer. But the vast majority, 12,000 churches, did and said absolutely nothing. Passive leadership, just standing by quietly to preserve your own comfort or safety, is devastatingly destructive. So, what does true leadership actually look like in a massive crisis? Let's transition into a bit of a character study. Part 3, 3 types of leaders. Let's see who you might be most like. First up, we have to contrast Aaron and Moses. Aaron is the ultimate people pleaser. Instead of leading the people, he was totally led by the mob. He even lied to Moses later with this absurd story claiming he just threw the people's gold into the fire and poof, out walked a calf. I mean, come on. He valued his own popularity and safety way over the truth. Moses, on the flip side, is the true leader. While Aaron was caving to the crowd, Moses was on the mountain hearing from God. In fact, God offered to just wipe out the rebellious Israelites and start a brand new nation exclusively through Moses. But Moses said no. He chose to passionately intercede for his people, going so far as asking God to blot his own name out of the book of life if God wouldn't forgive them. Now that is selfless, true leadership.
And then we have Joshua, who represents what we can call the in-between leader. As Moses and Joshua were coming down the mountain together, they heard the chaotic noise of the revelry below. Joshua mistakenly thought it was the sound of war. He couldn't yet discern the actual moral issue taking place in the camp. So he had immense potential, sure, but at this specific stage, his leadership and discernment were just completely unrefined.
Now we need to do a really surprising reframe of what was actually happening at the base of that mountain. Section 4, a false image, and the true nature of sin. What is super fascinating here is this grammatical ambiguity hiding right in the original Hebrew text. The word they used is Elohim. It's plural in its form, but it's very often used as a singular noun to describe the one God of Israel. So the big question is, did the people say, make gods for us, as in plural pagan deities, or did they say, make us a god, meaning a singular image?
Well, the evidence heavily suggests they weren't trying to replace God with a pagan deity at all. Just look at the facts. First, Aaron only made one calf. Furthermore, when he built the altar right in front of it, he explicitly proclaimed a festival to the Lord, and he used the divine name Yahweh. Historically speaking, in the ancient Near East, a calf or a bull was very commonly used as a pedestal or a throne for a deity to invisibly sit on. So the Israelites weren't abandoning Yahweh at all. They were just creating a highly convenient, very tangible, and entirely false image to represent him.
And this brilliantly illustrates the real theological tragedy here. Take a look at this 1547 woodcut by Lucas Cranach the Elder. It was actually designed to explain the breaking of the first commandment. You see, the great sin of the golden calf wasn't just idolatry in the sense of bowing down to a fake god like Baal. The great sin was worshiping a false image of the true God. They were essentially trying to force the invisible, totally uncontrollable God of the universe into a little, shiny, highly manageable box of their own making.
So, bringing it all home, Section 5, your golden calf. Let's look at modern false images.
We might not be literally melting down our earrings to build livestock statues in the desert, but make no mistake, we absolutely still forge false images of God today. Just look at the modern calves we build. We idolize human leaders, our favorite pastors, politicians, influencers, and then when they inevitably fail, our entire faith shatters because we confuse the flawed human agent with the divine. Or we fall deeply in love with the stuff of religion, the stunning architecture, the perfect worship music, our favorite comforting traditions. But most dangerously of all, we demand a convenient, comfortable, and controllable faith. We want a God who works on our exact timeline, who seamlessly agrees with our politics, and who literally never asks us to wait in the uncomfortable silence. So the absolutely crucial point is this. We are so often more stubbornly loyal to the stuff of religion than we are to God himself. Whenever we elevate our own convenience, our own personal comfort, or even our most beautiful traditions over actual truth and obedience, we are standing right there in the desert, dancing around the calf right alongside Aaron. We are actively choosing a God we can manage over a God who leads. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I want to leave you with one final, lingering question to really think about today as you look at your own life, your own anxieties, and your own impatience. What is your golden calf?